Last time on the podcast, we talked about the nervous system, the survival brain versus the CEO brain, and the three states, team resilient, team hyper, and team hypo, as Leah Davidson calls them. Today, we are going to begin building personal safety anchors. I am going to show you how to build your personal safety anchor, and then I'm going to teach you a simple sequence that you can use anytime you are feeling dysregulated. This is the foundation everything else builds on. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the episode that I released last week, it's number 182, Why You Keep Reacting the Way You Do. I want to invite you to start there. This will help you see why you can't think clearly when you're activated, why this isn't a character flaw or a willpower problem. So give it a listen if you haven't already. Now, I have shared a lot of information on the podcast, but learning information isn't enough. None of the regulation tools or communication strategies or relationship skills work if you don't have a foundation of safety. You can't regulate what doesn't feel safe. You can't access your clear thinking if your nervous system is screaming danger. Safety is the foundation. Safety is the key to healing. And today, we are going to build the foundation together. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Seasons of Joy podcast. I'm Jill Pack, and this is episode number 183, entitled Building Your Safety Foundation. Understanding how the nervous system works is important, but we can't just stop there. We have to put taking care of our nervous system into real practice because safety is central to your survival, and everything you are drawn to fulfill this need. Think about it. The food you like, the places you feel comfortable, the people you want to be around. All of it reflects your nervous system's assessment of safety. It is so important to see that each person's sense of safety is actually unique to them. What feels safe to me might not feel safe to you, and that is totally okay. There isn't a right or a wrong. There's just what works for your particular nervous system. Now, we all know people who love big gatherings with lots of people, lots of energy. It feels exciting and safe to them. Yet for others, a crowd sends their system into hypervigilance. Too much stimulation. Their system reads that as a potential threat. Neither is wrong. They just have different nervous systems. This idea of safety matters so much because it's only when we feel safe that our brains can get the resources that they need. When you feel safe, you can access all your thinking and language skills. You can connect with others. You can heal. You can rest and restore. But when you don't feel safe, all of that goes offline. Your survival brain takes over. So if you've been wondering why you can't access compassion in certain circumstances, or why you can't think clearly when you're triggered, it might not be a willpower issue. It might just be a safety issue. So how do we build safety? Well, we start by creating what's called a safety anchor. Think of it like an actual anchor on a boat. When a boat drops an anchor, it can stay in one place even when the water gets choppy. The anchor keeps it from drifting away. That's what a safety anchor does for your nervous system. It's something you can come back to when you start to feel dysregulated. When you feel yourself drifting away from your regulated state, your anchor helps you find the path back. So let's create your safety anchor. First, we want to start by choosing your word. How does the word safety land for you? Some people, it's perfect, but for others, it might not resonate. Maybe you prefer grounded or centered or anchored or at peace or home or aligned. We just want to pick a word that feels right in our body. So you want to find that word, say it out loud a few times, and pay attention. Does it feel true? Does it help you access that felt sense of being okay? That place where you feel most like yourself? Now, for me, I use the word grounded. That word feels solid and stable and present to me. So that's my invitation to you. Experiment and find your word. The next step is choosing your touch point. We want to anchor this feeling of safety to a physical sensation, a specific place on your body. This could be your hand on your heart, both hands on your belly, your hand on the back of your neck, the soles of your feet pressing into the ground. There are a few ways to find this place. You can scan your body and just notice, is there a place that feels relatively calm, relatively safe? That could be your anchor point. Or you can think of a memory when you felt truly safe and peaceful. Maybe it's a moment in nature. Maybe it's being held by someone you love. When you bring that memory into your mind, where do you naturally want to put your hand? That could be your anchor point. Or you can create a safe place in your imagination. In your mind, you go to a setting that invites peace and calm to your body. What would it look like? How would it feel? Now, it doesn't have to be a place you've even been. It just needs to be a place that you can envision in your mind that feels good in your body when you think about it, and then anchor that to a touch point on your body. For me, when I want to feel grounded, I put my hand on my heart, I close my eyes, and I take a breath. And I bring up a memory of being in the mountains hiking. I can smell the pine trees. I can feel the sun on my face. I can hear and feel my steps on the leaf-covered path, and my whole system settles. The third step is to practice it. You can't build an anchor in the middle of a storm. You have to practice when the water is relatively calm. So every day, just for a few minutes, you practice your anchor. You use your word. You use your touch point. You use your safe place or memory, and then you breathe and notice what happens in your body. You are training your nervous system. You're creating a pathway back to your home base. You're building an association between this cue and that felt sense of safety. Okay, now you have your word and your anchor point. Now, let's teach you about Leah Davidson's safety sequence. This is what to do when you notice that you are starting to feel dysregulated. First, you're going to use your safety cue. You place your hand on that anchor point and you say your word. And you bring up that safe place in your mind and you take a few breaths. And then you ask yourself this question, am I safe? And what I mean here is physically safe. Right now, in this moment, are you physically in danger? Most of the time, the answer is no. You're sitting in your living room, you're in your car, you're at your kitchen table. There's no actual threat to your physical safety. Just that acknowledgement can help your nervous system start to settle. You're giving it information that you are actually safe. And then you're going to ask yourself this question, do I feel safe? In all honesty, the answer is probably no. You don't feel safe emotionally. That's why you're feeling dysregulated. Maybe your daughter just told you something that felt like rejection. Maybe your husband just criticized you. You might be physically safe, but emotionally you don't feel safe. And that's okay. That's reality. Now, acutely relax your body. That's the third part to this. And this is based on something a researcher named Joseph Wolf discovered. Stress, fear, anxiety cannot be felt in a relaxed body. You cannot be tense and relaxed at the same time. So you want to drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, soften your belly, take a few slow, deep breaths, make your exhale longer than your inhale, slow down your heart rate. You're not denying your feelings, you're just creating some space in your body. You're helping your system shift out of that protection mode, even just a little bit. And finally, you're going to give yourself permission to feel. This is where so many of us get stuck. We think, okay, I'm physically safe and I just relaxed my body, so I shouldn't feel this way. But the thing is, your feelings are not weakness, they're information. Your body is trying to tell you something. So instead of trying to shut it down, just let yourself feel it. Remind yourself, I'm physically safe, I don't feel safe emotionally, and that makes sense. My body is more relaxed now, and I can let myself feel what I'm feeling. Let's say you just had a hard conversation with one of your adult children. They were expressing pain about some of your parenting choices, and you can feel your whole body start to activate. Your heart's racing, your chest is tight, and you're wanting to defend yourself. Then maybe you tell them that you need a minute, and you go to another room. You put your hand on your heart, you take a breath, and you ask yourself, am I safe? Physically, yeah. Do I feel safe? No, I feel like I'm being attacked. And then you deliberately relax your body. You drop your shoulders, you soften your jaw, you take some slow breaths, and then you give yourself permission to feel, this hurts, this is hard, and I'm allowed to feel hurt right now. You don't try to make it go away, you just acknowledge it. And that creates enough space that you can go back into the conversation and actually listen instead of just trying to defend yourself. That's the power of this sequence. Viktor Frankl's famous quote that I've shared before on the podcast says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. What we are doing by establishing safety is trying to create that space between the stimulus and our response. If someone is stuck in a hyperarousal state or in shutdown, there isn't space there because the nervous system isn't regulated. It is just automatically reacting from that survival instinct. But if we can create some space between what is happening and our response, we have greater access to our agency, the ability to choose, and our ability to be and live with more intention. Now, I experienced a really activating situation a few years ago before I found out about how the nervous system works. I've reflected often on this experience and what it felt like in my body. The way I felt and how I responded in this situation was definitely from a place of dysregulation. It did not feel safe. It was a very painful experience, but it has given me the opportunity to really get a close-up view of what it means to not feel safe and how it affects the clear thinking brain and the ability to access agency and to be intentional. That experience has helped me to get better at creating safety and feeling grounded in my body moving forward. Now, does this mean I will never get dysregulated again? Absolutely not. But I'm continually building my capacity to handle stress in my life without it absolutely derailing me. So, you have your anchor, you have your safety sequence, but there are also daily fundamentals that either support or undermine your nervous system. So I want to walk you through these really quick. The first one is light and darkness. The nervous system is connected to our circadian rhythm. So we need to get between 5 and 30 minutes of natural light within the first hour of waking up. We need to get some evening light around sunset, and then we need to get 6 to 8 hours of actual darkness at night. This helps our body know when to be alert and when to rest. The second fundamental is sleep. We all need 7 to 9 hours, not 5, not 6. This is something I personally have to work on. We can't really even catch up on sleep. We need to go to bed at roughly the same time each night. We need to create a bedtime routine, make our room actually dark. And when we are well rested, we have capacity. But when we are exhausted, everything just feels harder, doesn't it? The third fundamental is movement. This is a non-negotiable. Our bodies need to move every day. It doesn't have to be intense exercise. We just need to move, walk, stretch, dance in our kitchens. Movement completes the stress cycle, and it tells our body that we are safe. The fourth fundamental is nutrition. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to eat, but notice how different foods affect your nervous system. Pay attention to how much water you're drinking. Pay attention to what you're taking into your mind, the news, the social media, the conversations you're having. Your nervous system responds to all of it. And the fifth fundamental is relationships. We all need safe people in our lives. People who can stay regulated when we're activated. People who can hold space without trying to fix us. We need connection with a higher power. For me, that's God. When I remember that I am held by someone bigger than me, my nervous system can rest. These 5 fundamentals aren't optional extras. They're the foundation. You can't regulate a nervous system that's running on 5 hours of sleep and no movement. Now, I want to spend a few minutes here on an important distinction: stress reduction versus stress resilience. Stress reduction is asking ourselves, what stressors can I actually eliminate? What am I doing that doesn't need to be done? What commitments can I let go of? If you're chronically overwhelmed, feeling like you're stretched thin, something needs to change. We are not meant to go nonstop. But you also cannot eliminate all stress. Life is going to keep on happening. Your kids are going to make choices you don't understand. Challenges are going to arise. That's where stress resilience comes in. This is about building your capacity to handle stress, widening your zone of resilience so that you can experience challenges without completely falling apart. Stress reduction is making the waves smaller. Stress resilience is becoming a better swimmer. And you actually need both. But if you only focus on stress reduction, you're always at the mercy of your circumstances. You always need life to be calm in order to function. Yet, when you build stress resilience, you develop capacity. You can handle bigger waves. You can stay regulated even when life is hard. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next episode. We're going to talk about practical tools that can help you regulate in real time and build that resilience for your nervous system. This process really is simple. The things we've talked about today don't take a lot of time, but they do take consistency. So here's my invitation for you this week. Create your safety anchor. Choose your word, your touch point, and your safe place. And practice it every single day for just 5 minutes. And then practice the safety sequence. Use your cue. Ask yourself, am I safe? Do I feel safe? And then relax your body and then give yourself permission to feel. And then pick one fundamental to focus on. Maybe it's getting outside for that morning light. Maybe it's setting a bedtime alarm. Maybe it's committing to move your body every single day. Just pick one. You are not trying to overhaul your entire life. You're just building your foundation, one practice at a time. In the next episode, I'm going to give you a whole toolbox of regulation techniques that you can use in the moment. They're quick, practical tools that take seconds to do and can shift your state when you need it. But for now, focus on building your safety because everything else builds on that foundation. If you're working through this series and you're realizing you want more personalized support, that's exactly what I do in my coaching practice. You can find me at seasons-coaching.com or on Instagram at seasons_coaching. Until next time, remember, safety isn't a luxury. It's a necessity, and you deserve to feel safe in your own body.